Now available in paperback and e-readers, Spinsterella Goth Girl Summer. Take a trip into the macabre world of goth modeling in the new millennium in this spooktacular Spinsterella story. Pick up your copy of Spinsterella Goth Girl Summer in paperback and e-readers at Amazon.com and online booksellers everywhere. I recently had a viewer ask me if I was on the autism spectrum because they were uncomfortable about the way I was presenting myself in these videos. Now, no, I am not on the autism spectrum, and I know this because I went through 5 years of therapy after my brain aneurysm back in 1981, and after going through that therapy, I got a clean bill of health from all of the doctors at places like Montefiore Hospital and the Kennedy Center. And as I went through that therapy, a lot of kids when I was younger would think that I was some sort of slow or retarded, but I was in the same class as normal children, and as I was in that class with normal children, I was in some cases getting better grades than many of my classmates, so that basically proved that I was not on the autism spectrum whatsoever, because back in the 80s, kids who had autism were basically put into special ed classes because they basically showed, again, their cognitive abilities and their social abilities to have issues, and they would be placed in special ed classes where they would be given a special education, but I was not given that type of education whatsoever. Now, a lot of people have a hard time understanding how I behave in these videos because a lot of people basically are not used to seeing a black man who can go out here and speak in an articulate and intelligent way. No, they're not used to hearing a black man speak articulately and intelligently because they have basically, as I said in my novel, Spellbound, been spellbound and basically caught up in the ideas about black people that are made to fit into the black box that are acceptable to white people, and what they're really used to are black people who basically are out here being very emotional, talking a lot of jive or a lot of street slang and using a lot of profanity. And because they're used to those type of black people who speak a lot of jive and speak a lot of profanity, when they hear a black person who goes out here and speaks intelligently, it makes them extremely uncomfortable because they're not experiencing the stereotypes that they consider to be associated with being black. That's what makes them so uncomfortable that they have to start focusing on minor details, sitting there and writing comments in the comments section like, oh, this person's cadence is off. No, you're just not used to hearing a black person who doesn't go out here and is speaking all with a lot of emotion and isn't thinking before they speak. No, you're not used to hearing a black man who can go out here and speak and think before they speak, because when I make these videos, there's no script at all. No, this is me speaking directly to you, just like I would speak directly to anyone in the street, and presenting what I was taught and raised as a boy. When I was raised as a boy, I was always raised to always focus on excellence and always focus on presenting myself in a positive light. But when it comes down to many people out here, they don't really want to see black excellence. No, they're so comfortable with black ignorance that whenever they see black excellence, they want to find some way to discredit that person who's presenting black excellence. And this is where you get the individuals who want to say, oh, this guy's talking like a robot, or this guy's cadence is off. They're used to hearing, again, a certain type of black, and that's what makes them uncomfortable, just like it possibly made the guy who asked me if I was autistic, made him uncomfortable because they're used to hearing and seeing a certain type of black person and seeing a certain type of black. That's what they're used to. They're used to the guys like your Eric Adams or your Dr. Umar Johnson. Again, guys who go out here and get super emotional, go out here and talk a lot of jive, but don't really, again, think critically before they speak. They're used to those type of black people. They're not used to, again, a black person being measured and thinking before they say something. No, they're not used to that at all. What they're used to are black men who again are going to go into these emotional tirades, go out here screaming and yelling, and acting all crazy and not really understanding again how you behave is again what you're measured by, not just as yourself but as a collective. This is how it affects other black men, and it makes it just that much more harder for other black men to be able to navigate society when you act out. A lot of black men were not taught these things, but this is what I was raised with, and again, this is how I was raised to behave, and again, be able to operate in the world. Now, there's another group of people who get upset because I don't look directly into the camera, and what they don't understand is that in addition to dealing with that therapy for brain aneurysm, I was also having to deal with being an introvert. And again, when you're an introvert, sometimes you don't look at the camera because you just are focusing on your thoughts. And also when I was a boy, again, I was taught again about avoiding eye contact with people, because in the days of the 1980s, as we were in the middle of this drug war, we had a lot of pookies in the neighborhood. And again, a lot of these guys basically were extremely emotional, extremely out of control. And again, they would want to fight you just if you look their way. So what I learned as a boy was, again, avert your eyes, because you don't want to get into a fight with some dude who just sees you again looking his way. And in the days of the 1980s, it wasn't just dudes not only looking for a fight. Some of these guys had blades, some of these guys had guns, and they were, again, this was their first taste of power, because some of these guys, they were out here being dope boys on the side, and this was their first taste of power. And what they wanted to do is be able to find some poor person to use that weapon on in order to get their street cred and get their name out there as being some sort of bad boy. And what they were looking for was an easy target to go out here and hurt. So in my day, you learned, hey, just keep your eyes down and just keep it moving and try to just get through a day. You didn't really want to go out here making eye contact with folks, because some of these folks, again, they were crazy with power from the money that they were getting from the dope dealers. They were crazy with power from the affiliation with a certain gang or certain criminal in the neighborhood. So what you wanted to do was not really, again, go out here looking at people, because these people in the Bronx, basically at the time of the 1980s, again, if you looked their way, some of these guys were ready to go out here and look to fight at the drop of a hat. So in many cases, you would be the poor victim, because this guy was looking to just have a reason to use whatever weapon they had. So you didn't go out here looking to make no eye contact. This is something people, again, do not understand about living in the inner city. Again, you had to keep your eyes down, because that's how you survived. And again, I would run into the same problem at job interviews. People wouldn't understand that, again, you're not saying that you're not interested when you're not looking at them. What you're doing is trying to avert a conflict, because this is how I learned to survive. Again, this is what people, again, do not understand. And again, some people, they don't understand people, so they start making their own generalizations, like saying, oh, and I've dealt with this ever since I was a boy. Again, people saying, oh, that guy is slow, oh, that guy is retarded, not understanding this person basically is perfectly normal. They just don't come from your environment, and they don't do things the way you did in your neighborhood. I mean, the way you do things as you knew growing up is not the way I was taught to do things growing up. And that makes some folks uncomfortable. It makes them uncomfortable, and it makes them want to come to make generalizations about things that they don't understand. Again, when you don't understand, people come from different walks of life. Now, I understand people come from different walks of life. I have been understanding that ever since I was about 12 years old. I mean, my brother used to take me downtown to Manhattan, to the Manhattan movie theaters, and I would see different people. I would see different people of different walks of life. So I understood from an early age that people come from different walks of life. But when it comes down to a lot of people, whether they be white, black, or whoever, some people, all they know is how people are as related to their community. And that's one of the big problems I run into all the time. I run into that problem, again, with people who, again, don't understand. Again, everybody ain't the same, and everybody doesn't fit the stereotypes that you see on TV or in movies or in film or on the news. I mean, every black person isn't Dr. Umar Johnson. Every black person isn't Eric Adams. Again, talk and jive. Those people make you feel comfortable because they fit stereotypes. And because they fit stereotypes, you feel comfortable around them because they're presenting what you feel is comfortable as black. But when I come to the stage and present you with a different version of black, this is what makes some folks, again, really uneasy because they're used to seeing that version of black that, again, makes them uncomfortable. And if it makes them uncomfortable, that's when they want to say something is wrong with that person, when there's nothing wrong with that person whatsoever. No, they're just acting and behaving in a way that is different from what you're used to. And when it comes down to a lot of black folks, we're not used to seeing anyone in our community, again, speaking intelligently, dressing a certain way. No, we're not used to that whatsoever. And we've been sadly conditioned over the last 30 years to believe that being in the street is perfectly normal. And that's the sad part, because when I was growing up, guys like Bill Cosby were trying to show us a richer picture of black life. But sadly, what happened is we started buying into the idea of being in the hood, being loud, being argumentative, and think that was being black. Whereas when I was growing up, I was learning that black people were very civilized, black people were very intelligent, and again, being well-spoken and being well-dressed and being professional, again, that was considered normal. But sadly, over the last 30 years, as we've gone through the hood movies and the poverty porn movies of Lee Daniels and Tyler Perry, we have seen black people, they basically believe the worst about themselves and see that, oh, if a black person is speaking well, oh, there's something wrong with the way they're speaking. If the black person is speaking articulately, oh, there's something wrong with that person. Oh, if that black person is speaking and speaking a certain way, oh, they're talking like a robot. No, that's a black person who has been taught, again, how to behave properly. Again, we were once taught these things, but sadly, over the last 30 years, all we've been taught, again, is that, oh, if he's loud and ignorant, and again, being loud, because I remember just last week I was watching the movie Baby Boy on Tubi, and again, it made me look at the way I wrote characters in my books, and it was like, oh, it was like night and day. I mean, you had black people who watched the movie Baby Boy. This is a 2001 movie. I mean, everybody was basically cursing every other sentence. You got nothing but people arguing all the time. Nobody ever had a conversation. And then I looked at my novel, The Temptation of John Haynes, and it's like everybody's speaking intelligently. People are able to have conflict without getting emotional and being able to control themselves. I mean, I looked at the conversations in Temptation of John Haynes, and it surprised me. I was like, I'm not writing what I see in these black movies, and it really saddened me to a point, because again, you have black people who again don't understand. Yeah, there's a lot of us who can go out here and again maintain control over our emotions, because that's something I had to learn dealing with, again, all these type of guys in junior high school and high school. Again, guys who would want to fight at the drop of a hat, again, because somebody looked at them or somebody said something to them. In some cases, you didn't even have to say anything to them. I understood that from seeing guys, again, I saw one guy just punch a guy just because he could do it. And when I was in high school, I was 14 years old. And I looked at those situations and I said, I have to be careful moving out here because, again, the wrong move could possibly cost me my freedom or cost me my life. And this is something that I learned again back then. But people will sit there and they were saying back then, oh, you're the slow guy, you're the retarded guy. But I was smart enough to say, hey, I gotta watch how I move out here. I gotta watch how I do things. And sometimes it's better to be silent than say something, because sometimes saying something to the wrong dude could possibly, again, put you in a situation where you're dealing with a dude who want to fight or a dude who wants to pull a gun, and you could be either looking at losing your life or losing your freedom. This is something I had to deal with for many years in these public schools. Again, you have to deal with these individuals who, again, don't understand what it means to have control. Again, I had to maintain extreme self-control because I would have dudes mad at me because I didn't have a girlfriend, have dudes mad at me because of the way I was standing in a lunch line, have dudes mad at me, again, just because they just are angry. And again, I've got to deal with this person's feelings, again, by having control over my feelings, because if I react to this individual, I'm looking at possibly going to juvenile hall, or I'm looking at being dead. Again, this is the tightrope that black men out here have had to walk back then. Again, as related to moving in these public schools and on the streets. I mean, we had to watch how we did things, and again, that took a lot of discipline and a lot of self-control. Took a lot of discipline and self-control. And you have people who, again, don't understand what discipline and self-control are. When they'll say, oh, this guy is on the autism spectrum. No, not on the autism spectrum. I passed all of that in therapy with doctors who gave me a clean bill of health. And I went to normal classes all throughout my public school career. I mean, went to elementary school, junior high school, and graduated with a diploma. Again, there is nothing wrong with me, but some of these people, what makes them think something is wrong, again, is because they want to see their version of black. They want to see that loud black man who's all emotional, that loud black man who's using profanities in every other word, that black man who doesn't know how to talk, who uses the F word for a noun, an adjective, an adverb, a verb, and all sorts of terms, because they don't have any vocabulary whatsoever. They're looking for that type of black person who's always talking about going to the club on Friday night and blowing their paycheck, and the guy talking about how he got multiple baby mamas. That's what they want to see. They want to see that type of black person. That's what they want to see, or some black person who basically, again, got all these expensive clothes on, and it's looking like they're trying to play a big shot. Now, I've got on a Brooks Brothers shirt, but again, you wouldn't know it's a Brooks Brothers shirt unless I told you. And again, these guys, this is what they want to see. They want to see the flashy jive black person, because the flashy jive black person makes them comfortable about seeing a black person. When they see a black person like myself, again, makes them uncomfortable, makes them uneasy. Seeing the man who, again, presents intelligence and excellence makes them uncomfortable, because this means that here's someone who isn't a part of their ideas of being black, is not fitting into their smooth world, where they don't have to worry about that black person. No, when they see a guy like me, again, they want to say, oh, they want to find something to discount, again, things. And again, this is what the viewer was trying to do, trying to say, oh, this guy's on the spectrum. No, not on the spectrum at all. Not slow, not retarded, but smart enough to see that, when it comes down to a lot of people, especially black and some, especially these white people, they live in their own world, and anything that doesn't fit into that reality, this is what they have a problem with. Now, if you want to pick up some of my books like that I talked about in this video, like Temptation of John Haynes and Spellbound, and learn more about the whole picture of Black life that's completely different from what you've seen in mainstream media, you can find those books on Amazon.com in paperback and Kindle format. You can also find those books at other online booksellers like Draft the Digital, Google Play, Barnes & Noble, and big box retailers like Walmart and Target. And if you want to see me make more videos talking about my life, you can drop a donation to the Patreon, the PayPal, or the Cash App by clicking the link in the description box. That's all I have to say for this video. You can comment, rate, and subscribe. Now available in paperback and e-readers, Isis, Dark Incubus. The goddess next door gets enthralled in a romantic entanglement with an evil incubus in this all-new Isis series adventure. Get your copy of Isis, Dark Incubus in paperback and e-readers today. Now available in paperback and e-readers, Esteemed Season of the Witch Girl. The aspiring angel takes on a wicked teenage witch in this action-packed, all-new Esteemed series adventure. Pick up your copy of Esteemed Season of the Witch Girl in paperback and e-readers at online booksellers today. Support Black-owned and Black-operated digital broadcast media. www.niceradionetwork.com. Nice Radio Network, broadcasting 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.